So Charles Murray wrote yet another hack job against Trump with the stupid title, Why Hillary is Even Worse, Doesn't Cut It. Of course it's a stupid title. No candidate is perfect. Every election is the lesser of two evils. It's always just a matter of degree. And we know that sitting out elections and taking losses does not improve the chance of winning in the future. The Republican Party, and a lot of people don't know this, but the Republican Party has an internal demographic advantage in the U.S. because conservatives outbreed liberals so much. If there was no immigration, the GOP would be gaining ground demographically every year. So electing Hillary, who is for total amnesty and ending all deportation, that's going to kill any chance conservatism has to win in the future if that's what you care about. So sitting out and letting Hillary win does not make conservatism stronger in the long run. It will probably just bury it. Trump may not be a conservative, but a good 40% of the people who vote for the Republican Party aren't conservatives either. They never were, but they voted for the GOP anyway. So given that Trump is better than Hillary, and given that Trump gives the GOP a chance to win in the future by closing the border, or at least more of a chance, voting for Trump should be a no-brainer. If you vote for Hillary, third party, or you don't vote, okay, you're supporting a candidate who would be worse on all economic policy than Trump by conservative values, and would make it more difficult for conservatives to win in the future by opening the border than Trump would by closing it. Or at worst, Trump would do nothing and maintain the status quo of it being semi-open now. Now, once it's broken down this way, the comparison between Trump and Hillary, it's obvious what the conservative anti-Trump people are engaged in. A tantrum. There's nothing principled about enabling a worse candidate to win and throwing away any chance of your values to win in the future. And there's nothing intellectual about it either. And that's what's so infuriating about you, Charles, and why so many people are starting to hate you, is that you cloak this unprincipled and anti-intellectual tantrum as if it were the opposite, intellectual and principled. And when reading Charles's article here, there's one thing that popped out at me. There's a quote here. It says, "But Trump takes first prize for sheer bulk, averaging one factual untruth every 5 minutes, according to a systematic fact check of over 4.5 hours of stump speeches and press conferences." Close quote. The fact check that Charles cites comes from Politico, and it's hard to believe that this is the same person who wrote the bell curve on human accomplishment. What happened, Charles? Did you go senile? Fact checkers? Really? You're pushing that low info crap? Oh yes, we're here to check the facts because we know the facts, because we are the fact check. I mean, Charles is so blinded by this anti-Trump tantrum that he's pushing this fact checker nonsense. And he wrote some more whoppers. Says, quote, Then the fictions on facts about policy. No, Wisconsin does not have an effective unemployment rate of 20%, nor does the federal government impose Common Core standards on the states, to take just 2 examples plucked at random from among his continual misrepresentations of reality, close quote. Now, in Common Core, Charles can't be this stupid. The way the federal government enforces Common Core is by withholding funds, and they do withhold funds from the states that don't implement Common Core. Now, I don't know if Charles is actually so stupid as to not know that this is how the federal government controls the schools, or if he's just blinded by his anti-Trump tantrum. Now, regarding the effective unemployment rate, if you ask some random person what unemployment is, it means a person who is of working age who's not working. That's what it means, which means the labor force participation rate. Trump has said now the average person may not know about the labor force participation rate or what it means, but when the average person is conceiving of employment and unemployment, he's conceiving of labor force participation. Now, Trump has said repeatedly that he doesn't give 2 figs about the official Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers. And quite frankly, neither do most Americans, neither do I, neither should anyone. The people who push the BLS number around, these are like political people and like the NRO, Cato, DC types, who from now on I'll refer to as the Buttercreamer Brigade. What would be insane would be if the Wisconsin unemployment rate was less than 20%. And by unemployment rate, I mean the percentage of people that are unemployed. not this bizarre BLS thing that stops counting people as unemployed after 6 months. I'm not interested in those games, and neither are most people. But I could be here all day responding to, this National Review tabloid stuff. Charles, now this is something that I've kind of kept down. Like, this is sort of an opinion here that I've kind of kept down because I've been wanting to sort of, try to convince some cruisers to support Trump. But Trump has better policy positions than you. And this is something that the Buttercreamer Brigade has shielded itself from because they live in their little temples. Trump supports propping up dictators in the Middle East. And this is a foreign policy that worked. This is known as the realist, quote-unquote, policy. A little bit of a self-congratulatory title, but, following the Iraq War and the interventions in Libya and Egypt and Syria, I think that title, that self-proclamation of being a realist was well-deserved, propping up dictators. Right? It kept the oil flowing, it kept the region stable, and it was good for the people in the region. We've seen this democratic, like this not Democrat Party, but like expansion of democracy policy in the Middle East. And you can shit on Obama all you want, but Bush started this whole insane crusade to remake the Middle East in our image or something like that. As if, well, I don't want to get into that. And on tax policy, Trump supports cutting capital gains and raising the income tax on the rich. Capital gains is tax on profit from investment, which then gets taxed again if it's taken as income. And that's retarded since this is money that's most likely to be reinvested. It's the seed corn. Right? It is the thing that you want to tax the least. Income is used for consumption. Now, Trump doesn't want to tax the rich's investment because investment is what makes the whole economy better off. Okay, tax the money they take out of their business or portfolio as income instead. And to be kind of a dick about it, this is the correct tax policy that Trump is pushing. Right? Capital gains is precisely the tax that you don't want to have. And income on the rich is precisely the tax that you do want to raise. And this isn't some position that I've rationalized in order to support Trump, Charles. I've held this position for years before Trump started running. Now, on immigration, Trump has the absolutely correct policy. Look, the economic argument for immigration comes from a labor shortage. The U.S. does not have a labor shortage. It has a job shortage. Moreover, real wages for people under 30 have been going down in real terms over the past at least 16 years. And a total ban on immigration is precisely what the United States needs. And here's another thing, Charles. I support Trump's stances on Planned Parenthood and I support the minimum wage and raising the minimum wage. Now, I'm not like a fire thrower on those issues, and I don't want to argue the minimum wage, right? That would be something really complex. That's a big complex debate. But for me and a lot of people like me, those positions that Trump has, those are pluses, not minuses. I also support an increase in the tariff on certain manufactured goods. I know what comparative advantage is, okay? And no, I don't support a sugar tariff. Right? It's another complex argument involving gateway industries and the value of the sunrise industry plus the reduced price of the foreign produced goods, the gains from trade, minus the value of the lost industry plus the value of the sunrise industry. It's an empirical thing. It's an empirical debate, and it's highly contextual. And I may be wrong. Maybe free trade is the best policy 100% of the time, and maybe the United States was wrong to have had the highest effective tariff on manufactured goods for the first, 150 or so years of its existence. But the thing is, there's a lot of people like me, despite disagreeing on so much, have held our noses and voted Republican for candidates that were more in line with what you believe, Charles, than with what I believe. And for the first time, the shoe is on the other foot, and this is how you behave. And that's the word for it. It's not how you respond, it's how you behave, because you're behaving like a child. In other places, Charles, you have attacked Trump for being unpresidential and thin-skinned in demeanor. And this concept of being thin-skinned, I've heard people say that, well, you just need to let these insults wash off your back, just roll off you. Which is, it's ridiculous because it doesn't roll off you, right? it's not about like whether or not you personally are psychologically offended by the insults that are coming at you or the attacks upon you, like or the lies about you. That's not relevant. Sure, you can be outraged about it or not. But what matters is the political effect of the charge. That's what matters. And Trump, by constantly hitting back, it's not thin-skinned. That's recognizing the political reality that other people are hearing about these charges, that other people listen. Like when Elizabeth Warren says some stuff, other people are listening to that. That's the political reality. It's not about being thin-skinned or psychologically, insecure, whatever. And regarding being unpresidential and, Trump's clownish behavior, right, as you see Trump, but that's how I see you. Yes, Trump's a carnival barker, but you're a carnival whisperer. And that's the hell of it. It's not that we're being taken in by Trump's act. It's that we all know that you're engaged in a dumb act as well, which is why all the 95 IQ working class people who are now Trump supporters, right, it's something that they've always seen through. And, like Cruz has his fake preacher act where everything is some profound end times matter of principle, a promise, a promise to the American people, and what the preacher cadence he has. Right, Christie, he's the no nonsense blue state Republican governor. Now the hell of it is, like for him, it's somewhat an act, but to his credit, he was actually speaking truth about having to cut Social Security in a debate. So he's actually did that walk the walk a little bit there. Carly Fiorina, of course, is just the insufferable corporate adult, right, who makes all the mature decisions, and let's not take the moral position or the correct position or the effective position. No, what is the corporate position? What is the adult, mature corporate position to take? Yes, yeah, that's Carly Fiorina, corporate adult, and Ben Carson, he was the black smart. Right? He's smart black. That's his little shtick. Now everyone has their little shtick. Trump's was just more entertaining, and his positions are better. Now the thing is about Murray, nobody thinks you're incredibly smart. Nobody takes you incredibly seriously, and Charles, you make bad arguments and have bad reasoning all the time. Like case in point, this article that you just wrote. But the thing is, I'm not going to then. I mean, that's not going to make me disown the bell curve or disown human accomplishment. Okay, because my view of you, like this article, I know that sometimes you go, have emotional, that's just it. As clownish as you see Trump, and how everyone else has always seen people like you, Charles. Okay, we have words for you: Lolberg, Bowtie, conservative, residents of Chateau Artiste. And so it's not so much that Trump is causing this rise of anti-buttercreamer, anti-establishment people, right? It's not causing them to come into existence. It's just causing that sentiment to be mobilized, and how you people were always seen is now sort of being revealed, and it's not, and you go in and say, well, we have dumb bombastic rhetoric by Trump. No, the dumb bombastic rhetoric comes from the National Review, blindly supporting free trade. Okay, that's what I think is dumb bombastic rhetoric. I think Trump has better positions on that. Now you could say, well, Trump hasn't thought that through. Well, I mean, the reality is that none of the Lolbergs have thought their positions through, right? They come like their position on trade, their position on the minimum wage, your position, right? It's all going to be in a set. There's a predefined set of positions that the Lolbergs are going to have. Okay, so sure, I mean, they may have more well-defined talking points, but don't pretend that they have thought anything through. Like we know you guys haven't. So yeah, that's all that's happening. Nothing new is being created by Trump, right? It's just what has always been there is just being mobilized and put on display. And finally, that wing of the Republican Party that has always existed, that wing of the Republican Party that supported higher taxes on the rich, that supported the higher minimum wage, okay, and was big on closing the border. Right? These working class people who are interested in having like a decent wage like they did in the past. Right? That wing of the Republican Party, is finally getting their say. That's all that's happening. It's not a new thing that has come into existence. It's something that has always been there, and the attacks on you that Trump is doing, it's funny. Trump's sort of putting it there, but the thing is that's how people have always felt about the Republican establishment, and I include the National Review publication in that. So, like, the thing is, this is how it has always been. It's just now being revealed to you.